Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the COVID-19 series of interviews we're doing throughout the world. And I'm more than delighted to have, I think, today our first airline, and I have Gary Kershaw of Qatar. Good morning, Gary.
Hi, Graham. How are you?
Not too bad. How's it been going in lockdown for you? I understand you're now just about to challenge the Tour de France.
Working on it. I've got a 90-mile ride at the weekend.
90 miles.
Spread over 2 days, I hasten to add.
I'm very impressed with that. Very impressed. So, Gary, what's the current status of Qatar Airways? I know you would be flying cargo flights, but are there any passenger services going internationally, or are they just in the region at the moment?
Well, immediately into the crisis, Graham, our CEO declared that we were going to be the airline to take people home. So we've been flying throughout. We've dropped down as low as about 30 cities. And by the end of July, we'll be back up to 80 destinations that we fly to. But we've literally repatriated over 30,000 passengers between Doha and Sydney, Melbourne and Perth. We've done over 40 charters now for the UK government, repatriating from all parts of the world, from Sudan and back from India and back from Vietnam. So we've been very busy flying. 80% of our journeys are roughly one way at the moment. So it's a lot of repatriation traffic still.
Okay, well, with that, what are the plans? Do you have any plans, indeed, to reopen routes to the UK and to other parts of Europe?
So there's a lot of Europe that's flying. We are actually, as of today, 3 times a day into Heathrow, 11 a week to Manchester. Edinburgh is coming back, and Dublin's daily.
And is there anybody on these aeroplanes?
More than you suspect.
Right.
I look at the load factors every day. Obviously, I have a keen eye on those. And yes, it's a delicate balance because, as you rightly say, a lot of what we're flying is cargo, and that is a big determining factor on what routes we operate. But back into the UK, we are seeing reasonable load factor, and June we were double daily on Heathrow, and as I say, yesterday we went triple daily on Heathrow.
And if I was to be a passenger on one of your aircraft from Qatar back to the UK, what's the protocol? Do I have to wear a mask the entire distance? Do I get tested in Qatar?
You get temperature read in Qatar. Face masks are mandatory. And
for the entire flight?
For the entire flight. And as of today, face shields are also mandatory. So it's changing all the time. So we're providing masks and face shields to our customers at the boarding gate. In terms of the sanitization of the aircraft, we're spending a lot longer sanitizing the aircraft. Obviously, flying one of the world's youngest fleets, all our aircraft have the most modern HEPA filters on board. Our crew are in PPE suits. There's sanitization gel everywhere on the aircraft. And, in terms of, we spend extra time cleaning all of our catering equipment that goes on board that aircraft. So we are doing as much as we possibly can. We exceed WHO guidelines in terms of looking after our customers.
And have you had any reports of any aggravation, really, in terms of people get on board, they might be expecting a mask, but a shield will be slightly more than they were expecting. And also halfway through the flight, you're going to get a bit cheesed off with wearing a bloody mask all the time, I would think.
I haven't personally heard of anything, but we are very clear to customers. I've read the update this morning. We're very clear to customers that if the security and safety of our passengers is paramount to us, and if customers don't want to comply with that, we won't board them.
Fair enough. So, in line with lots of other airlines, I know that you've reduced your workforce, and I think you're reducing or have already reduced your fleet. What are the plans as far as your route network is concerned? Is it going to be, it's going to be cut in half? You're just going to become one of the world's smallest airlines, if not one of the most comfortable. What's the plans going forward?
Well, interesting. It's interesting you say that. For the month of April and May, we've actually been the world's largest airline. So I think we will. One of the benefits that we have is the flexibility in our fleet. We fly everything from an A321 LR to an A380. The 380s are grounded, but what having that flexibility allows you to be far more agile in terms of the route network you operate. And I believe that we will fly less ASKs next year, but the intention is to only reduce our connectivity by 5%. So, we're one of the carriers, as I say, we've been flying throughout. We want to be the carrier that people felt most confident traveling with over this period. And we intend to emerge a much stronger airline out of this.
Cool. Well, that sounds very encouraging from a Qatar Airways. I know you've got a new tourism authority. I can't remember the exact long name of it. It's like the Qatar Tourism Council of Integration and Happiness and Peace and Love and everything like that. But what practical implications do you think it will have for the airline? Because I'm assuming you're going to have a fair bit of representation on it.
It's QNTC you're referring to, National Tourism Council.
That's
yes,
simpler than I thought then.
We're very lucky that our GCEO is now sits over both. So he's responsible for tourism and the airline. So that brings in some integration that potentially wasn't as close as it should have been beforehand. We definitely see Doha as both not only a stopover destination, but a destination in its own right. They're working with a consulting group at the moment to revamp QNTC. And I think that, into 2021, we'll see some exciting things. Obviously, we've got the World Cup coming up in 2022. We want to be positioned as best we can for that. And, integrating QNTC and Qatar Airways will be vital in terms of doing that and making that a success.
So as far as, let's move on to the World Cup, because that's obviously one of the major global events and probably might be even, who knows whether the Olympics is going to take place or not, but maybe one of the first post-COVID major sporting events. Are you worried? And thank you very much for the invite for the final, by the way. That's very kind of you.
You're very welcome.
What is the situation here in the UK? Are you already booked out? Have you got large groups, England supporters clubs, English FA? Where are you at with all of that?
I think we need to qualify first, don't we?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
No problem.
So, it was on our radar. We will, you basically wait till after Euro 2020, which will now be Euro 2021, before you ramp up to these activities. There's a lot of major sporting events to go through before we even start thinking about that. And I've been lucky enough in my career to be involved in some of those hosting of major tournaments. We're starting to talk about the British Lions next year, so we're well aware that we need to be building up to 2022, and we had some success with the World Club Championships last year, with Liverpool being in the final. But it's really too early to start planning on that. But in terms of the stadia and the infrastructure in Doha, a lot of the stadia are built. They are putting in an underground metro system that is incredible. So all of that is ongoing.
Okay, and of course, what I should make clear is that the Welsh FA, the Scottish FA, and the Northern Ireland FA, and indeed Ireland, would also wish to speak to you at some point, because I'm sure they're going to qualify as well, very simply, just as well as England do.
Yeah, we can hope. We can hope.
Just going back to COVID a little bit, a couple of months ago, you launched a campaign for free tickets for NHS workers. Is that come to an end? And what was the result of it? Is it ongoing?
We had 100,000 seats on offer for medical workers around the world. It was highly oversubscribed. It was a bidding system. You had to get into a queue. The tickets came out at 10 o'clock at night over a 5-day period. The tickets were free. The workers had to pay tax on those tickets. It was hugely successful in so much as we came out with a second wave with an offer to workers that weren't actually able to take advantage or get a free ticket. So it was, it was our way of saying thanks on a global basis to key workers around the world, and it went down incredibly well.
And do you think you got lots of positive PR from that?
We did everywhere. Globally, it was very well received on every medium, and I think it set us out. A number of airlines followed us in terms of doing something for their key workers, so we were proud to be a leader on that front.
Excellent. Well, Gary, I wish you the very, very best of luck with the reorganisation and the new routes and the powering forward and the new aircraft, and indeed dealing with COVID-19, which is obviously a tricky time, more for airlines, I would think, than virtually anybody else. So thanks for your time this morning, and I hope to see you in 2022 at that final.
Well, I hope England or another home nation's airground.
Good man. Speak
Take
to you
care.
later. Bye.